Welcome to Mercedes Second Chance Podcast, where we share real life stories about addiction, getting clean, and being given a second chance. So, I am your host, Mercedes Whitecalf, and this is Mercedes Second Chance. This is your recovery podcast for the Northwest, and today I have the honor of interviewing Maya Noble, beautiful Maya, who I met in recovery. Well, actually, I seen you with my cousin like years and years ago. And then when I entered recovery, you were so beautiful and everyone said your name and they were like, Maya, Maya. But it wasn't until I got to hear you, I think at Imago Day, you were the speaker. Yeah, and I really got to hear your story and the similarities, like for one being biracial, and then also the brothers and the gang members and, you know, things like that. And then but you had a lot of stuff because you talked about your children, and one of the moving things you talked about was like just getting your kids to the meetings and you being in the meetings, and how the fellowship definitely helped raise your kids. Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. So, but before I go into that, like I just really want to hear your story and kind of hear like how it came to be. When did you become an addict? You know, how did it start? How'd you stop? So take it back.
Ooh, how did I become an addict? I don't know. Let's go all the way back. Well, I was born. No, I'm just kidding. You know, I don't really know how I became an addict. You know, I think that, you know, that was never one of the things that was on the plan. You know, I didn't have like grandiose ideas or goals as a child, but I definitely didn't think that dope fiend was going to be one of them. And so, you know, I grew up in North Portland and St. John's, and, you know, out there, it was, you know, a lot of...
it's not like what it is now, right?
No. And actually, you know, I don't live out there no more. I can't afford it. So I don't really know what it's like.
Gentrification is real.
I know, right? I never thought I would be able to say, you know, we were all trying to get out of St. John's or Northside. I never thought I'd be able to say I can't afford to live there.
Right.
And so, you know, out there, it was like, you know, the crack epidemic hit hard. And you know, people were using and families were struggling, and there was like, you know, rap music started to become popular and all this stuff, and yeah, I just never thought that was the one thing I never thought would be a crackhead. You know,
that's because you've seen it everywhere.
Yeah,
like I'll never be that crackhead. Never. You know,
I'll never be that. I never thought that would be me, and just, you know, my mom worked hard. You know, I have me, my brother and sister. I have other siblings from my dad's side also, but I grew up with me, my brother and sister, and my mom is Black, my dad is white. I grew up being the only mixed person.
Your mom lived in St. John's in the hood? Your white mom?
My mom is Black.
Oh, your mom's Black and your dad is white. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I grew up being the only mixed race person in my family, like my whole family, like my cousins, my grandparents, like everybody's Black. Just
tell me about it.
Yeah. And so that was always odd for me. I don't know if you know, that could have had something to do with it or whatever. I didn't like being mixed. I didn't like nothing about being mixed race. I didn't like the color of my skin. I didn't like my hair. And so I just wanted to be like my sister. And so that was probably, I mean, I don't know. But then that's just like normal stuff. You always want what you ain't, you know?
You ain't, right. So how did the drugs come into it? Did you start drinking at a young age?
Yeah, well, you know, I think that you know, the one thing that was missing in the you know, in our space was that my mom was just gone. We were like latchkey kids, you know, where nobody was ever there, and I know she did the best she could with what she had, but you know, she just didn't, you know, she had you know, she struggled too, and so, you know, we were young. I remember the first time. This ain't the first time I drank, but this is the first time I got caught and had a huge consequence. Was that me and my sister were drunk down at Cathedral Park, and some people were like, what the hell are these kids doing drunk at Cathedral Park? And they drove us home, and we had and there was nobody there, and we ended up actually getting put in foster care, and I was in the I was in the 4th grade.
You were drunk in the 4th grade?
Yeah, I was in the 4th grade. So yeah, that was like, so it's like I started drinking. So when people be like, oh yeah, I took my first drug at very young, I started drinking at a very, very young age. And but I still, like, we were just kicking it. Everybody was drunk all the time. You know, I got to be, I was always seeking like validation in relationships. So I would always go for the people that were most like emotionally unavailable, and I was going to try to fix them, and they were going to fall in love with me and all that stuff. So I was always chasing that. I loved, you know,
like friends and boyfriends, girlfriends, all that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really have I didn't have my first girlfriend until I was an adult, but like as a young person, as a teenager, I was just always fucking with gangsters.
Yeah, yeah.
Dope boys and gangsters, like that was just the life, and that's really what I wanted it to be. Is I was like, I was gonna find somebody that was just selling big dope, move to the villa, and live happily ever
Get
after.
fabulous. Yeah,
Get them fabulous. Those were the goals. And then, you know, quickly, you know, I had my first daughter when I was 16, and her dad went to prison really quickly after that for murder, and so I got a new baby's daddy. And yeah, and I, you know, and he was broken, and you know, his family was struggling with addiction, and a lot of the adults in his family were addicted to crack, and I was just like, I'd never be like that. But when I had my daughter, I had a cesarean, and when I had that cesarean, they gave me pain pills. Yeah.
The devil, yeah.
That was it.
And that's how you started?
Yeah.
How old were you then?
I was when I started taking pain pills, I was probably like 19. Yeah.
Okay. So then your boyfriend was supplying those, or?
Yeah. No, my doctor was supplying those. My first person that was that was supplying my dope was my doctor. And I would call him and be like, I need some more, I need some more, I need some more. And like, I didn't know I was addicted, right? I just knew that I couldn't stop taking them or I would get sick. I didn't know what that, you know, I had a vision of what an addict looked like. And so I had my shit together, so I wasn't that. But I just knew I could not stop using them. And one day my doctor was just like, no. And this is after like a couple years of just getting them from them regularly.
From that one C-section?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
I was just calling him this reason, that reason, you know, this was happening, that was happening. And he would just, I call him at home.
Yeah.
And he just prescribed them. And you know, and back then they didn't have a way of like, of trying to titrate somebody down off of those. They just stopped.
Cold turkey.
Just cold turkey. And so I just was hustling pills, and it was just a thing, you know. And you know, eventually I got on. I mean, like, this is my drug story. It's like eventually I got on methadone. I had some more got on methadone, and I never took heroin before, but I got on methadone for pills. And I had a strong addiction. I would take 10 Vicodin at a time, and you know, and back then they were just like a lot of people were getting them, so I was able to get stuff really easily. And then my bright idea was that I was gonna like start, you know, try to get off the methadone by taking meth, right? And so I started because I thought
that makes sense. Right.
I mean, you're at it,
right?
It makes sense.
Right. That makes sense. I did the same thing. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, one's physically addicting, one's not. You know, I had this bright idea. And then it just still continued to go downhill. The one thing that I know is that whatever substance I use, it takes me to the depths, no matter what it is, what it is. And while pills and opiates took me to the depths physically, like meth and that took me to the depths like spiritually.
Crazy, yeah. Because I was on meth, you know, that was my drug of choice, and I remember being like so far gone. Like I would hate taking it, but I had to take it, and then when I take it, I'd be pulling everything out of my bag, and I would I don't know why I took my clothes off, and like I was one of those people you would literally see change right before your eyes, you know, and I would be crazy. And I remember thinking, I need to start doing heroin and class it up a bit, because the heroin addicts, they don't act like us. You know, they got a little bit more together. They at least take a shower, get dressed today, put some makeup on. Like I'm drawing my eyebrows on lipstick, you know, like I'm out there.
Yeah.
And so I definitely get that. So you went to meth, and that drained you spiritually.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like all of those things that I said that I wouldn't do, all of a sudden became negotiable, right? So all the things of the ways that I wouldn't do, what I wouldn't do to get it, the ways that I wouldn't use it, all of those.
Like prostitution?
I never was a prostitute. But I definitely traded my body for dope. I don't know, how do you say that?
Yeah, no, I did that too. It's like high class prostitution.
I don't know if there's a
or
difference.
It's like more
right?
domestic prostitution.
I didn't fuck with nobody that didn't have a bag.
He was my boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, my boyfriend.
Wouldn't have been my boyfriend if they didn't have it.
Right.
Or
exactly.
my girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
But and that's just the way of life. So I have to like, and through my step work, I had to look at that though, right? Like I, you know, because I used to always say, oh, I wasn't a prostitute. I used to be a dancer and all this stuff, but I wasn't a prostitute. And it was like, yeah, but I didn't mess with nobody who didn't have dope, right? And so
we didn't walk the streets, but
yeah,
we
didn't walk,
definitely,
yeah,
traded.
Definitely traded, yeah.
And so then what happened? So you're on meth, and now where are these kids at?
My kids, they were with their family. So my mom had some, the baby's dad had the other, and they were just gone, you know. And I just was like using, and that was it. You know, so in the end, what I will say is like I didn't have any of my kids. The only thing that I wanted to be in life was like fuck with a dope boy, live in the villa, live ghetto fabulous, and have my kids, right? And that was it. And all of those things were gone in the end, you know. Ooh. I didn't have anybody. I didn't have my kids. All of it was gone. All of those things.
Now, where did the dope boy go?
Oh, God, I don't know.
Went to jail, or you just couldn't even keep him anymore? I get it.
I was using the wrong dope. It was like, I can't use the dope.
And I'll be stuck like Chuck somewhere. Like, I need to go find him.
I can't use the dope.
But I can't take this pipe out my mouth.
Yeah. It was so funny because I mean, like, the only thing is, like, as long as I don't smoke crack, as long as I ain't a crackhead. And let me tell you, in the end, the beautiful people that I just thought, you know, that I labeled the most as being just the worst were the ones who helped me. You know, like the crackheads are the ones that helped me, you know, and gave me a safe place to stay. My daughter's grandmother, who died of the disease of addiction, you know, was you know, and I was always like, oh, she's a crackhead. She was the one who took care of my baby when I couldn't show up, when the disease took over every parenting and every like love that I had for my children. When they robbed that, the crackhead that I talked so much shit about was the one who took care of the things that I loved the most.
Needed. Yeah, my mom would always say that. She'd be like, be careful how you treat people, because you never know who's going to hand you your last meal.
Yeah. And so when I got clean, it was just like, you know, when I got clean, I mean, so what happened, girl? Was that, you know, in the end, my mom wouldn't let me at her house. I'm my mom's baby, and she wouldn't let me in. I would steal her shit. And she had to put up some boundaries and tell me I couldn't come into her home. And I remember I just prayed. I was just like, God, you know, and I didn't really have a spiritual connection, but I just prayed like, God, please show me something different. And from that prayer, I'm not like confused. Like my prayers were answered. Right. Like my mom said I can come over one more time. The idea of going to treatment popped in my head. I'd never been to treatment. The only time I stopped using was when I go to jail, right? And so I thought that was the only way I could stop, is if I went to jail. It was, so I'm wearing some dirty ass clothes, eating some fucking one piece oatmeal you pick up with one square, the whole piece picks up, you know, like that was my hopes and dreams of like life going to be changed, like my life would get better, is if I could go to jail. Like I thought that was it. That was my capability.
Lock me up.
That's all I had.
Because you got to stop me. I won't stop.
Yeah. And so I went, at some point I went to treatment, and I don't know why I was saved. It was nothing like grandiose that I did. It was nothing about me. Because there's people who have worked so much harder than me to get this and have not gotten it. There's so many people that are so deserving of recovery in this way of life, that have put in the work over and over again, that have tried so hard, that are dead from this disease. Yeah. And it was just like something, I was on the conveyor belt onto the slaughterhouse, right? And something just fucking picked me off, and I don't know why, and but I'm just grateful. And
oh, I can picture that. That's going to make me cry. Yeah.
And when I got here, I was a mess. You know, and people didn't want to be around me. I didn't look good. I had track marks all up and down my arm.
You're an intravenous user?
I had pick marks all over my face. I was a picker. I had pick marks on my chest. I looked like I had some disease, you know, that somebody could catch if they came near me. And and people were not wanting to come near me. And I remember I went to a meeting, and I'm a grateful member of a 12-step program that has given me the tools and the information to like save my life. And I went to this meeting, and this guy was in there, and he's like, oh, look, my baby's mama is in here, and she got 5 years clean. You should ask her to be your sponsor. And he used to have good dope. And so I was like, oh, you got the hookup. Let me.
All right,
go
you
ahead.
know the hookup out there. Maybe you know it in here.
Right? And he did actually, because she saved my life. That woman loved me. That woman gave me my first book and like let me come over to her house. Didn't nobody let me come over to their house, right? When I got out of treatment, she said, come over. And like, we drank coffee. Like, I didn't even know, like, it was so weird to me. I was 30 years old when I got clean. And I had no GED, hadn't had a job. I hustled for my whole life. I'd used alcohol or other drugs forever. And she just loved me. She just like let me just like heal in her space. I'm like, she's an angel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then what happened? Did you get the kids back or?
When I got out of treatment, my kids were, some of my kids were in Vegas and some of my kids were with my mom. And I mean, they were just like everywhere, right? One was in Arizona. Like everybody just did what they could to try to like save the kids, you know? And Black folks, we don't send our kids to DHS. We just like, they go to somebody's aunts or grandma's or somebody's house and people just take care of the kids. And I'm grateful for that. Because I wasn't a safe person to raise them. But when I got out of treatment, my sponsor was like, no. I was like, I'm gonna go get my kids. And she's like, no, you need to figure out how to stay clean before you go get them kids.
Right.
Build a foundation, be somebody that's worth being trusted. Like do esteemable acts so that people can trust you before you go in these kids' lives and leave them again. Like get your shit together. And it was the best thing the most important thing anybody has ever told me. Mm-hmm. So I was able, you know, I spent like 2 months, like just going to meetings every day, like, you know, picking up cigarette butts. Cause like I needed something to do. So my first service position was like picking up cigarette butts at the meeting. I went to this meeting yesterday. It's over in Vancouver. It's at 12 o'clock over in Vancouver. And that's the meeting I got clean in. And it's like, I'm so grateful they had a meeting every day at 12 o'clock because I had a place to go because I had nowhere to go. Everybody I knew was dope fiends or dope dealers or something. You know, it's like I had nowhere to go. I needed to be in that space every single day.
Yeah. And so you said you didn't have a GED. But I know you're now getting your master's, right? You're on hiatus a little bit, but you've gotten into a graduate program. Yeah. How did that happen from no GED to you're getting your master's?
So the one thing is like, you know, I went, you know, I've been around all these women, right? It's like we got some like amazing Black women in recovery here in Portland that are just like, that are so doing just, like extraordinary people. And they were like, I was embarrassed. I was in this space and I was doing this literature study where we study the I don't know, do people know about this, right? Like where we study like a 12-step literature, right? So I was in a 12-step literature study. And somebody was like, you're getting your GED? That's so exciting. And I was embarrassed. I was actually graduating the GED program. And they were like, you better go to that graduation. Yeah. And I went, and these women were all...
Because we celebrate who we are. We don't turn our back on any shame or anything because those are the things that God uses.
Right? Like, but I didn't know, right? They were all in college. One was in the university, and I, like, didn't even... Like, I thought you had to have money to go to college. I didn't know you can get loans. Right. I thought only...
Scholarships.
Yeah, whatever. You know, I just didn't think... I knew I wasn't going to get a scholarship, not like an academic one, right? I didn't go to school. I dropped out of the 8th grade. Oh, wow. And so, no, I finished 8th grade. We got drunk at the graduation. But you know, I just didn't know people. I just didn't think that was my path. I didn't know that I could go to school. And so these women started talking about how they went to school and how they were, you know, one got a bachelor's degree, one got an associate's degree. And I was just like, and there was this other woman that was working in that GED program that was like, Maya, you can do this. And here, sign up for this program so that they'll pay for your childcare. Because if you're on TANF, you can't go to school. Like, you can't still go to get TANF and go to school. But there was this program at that time where you could get the TANF and still go to school. And they ended it. I was the last person that they allowed to do that. Wow. And I'm just grateful for that. Because I was able to just go to school. Because I hadn't been to school. I didn't know. And I thought I knew. Look, if the dope fiends got egos. I thought I knew all kinds of shit, right? Right. And so, but I realized in that space, just like I didn't know. I didn't know how to write well. I didn't know how to read well. I knew how to count money and dope, but that was it. But that was actually really transferable skills that were really useful in that space, though. So I knew how to do some things. And I went to school. And I got I finished went to PCC, and then I was going to be a nurse, and I realized I didn't want to be a nurse. I like to do the cadavers because we got to cut cadavers, which is disgusting, but I didn't really like to do the other stuff. I don't want to clean up, throw up. was like our shit.
Yeah.
but I appreciate our nurses. They're amazing, and they've shown up. They've like stepped up.
Oh yeah, our
during the
nurses
pandemic.
are saving the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do, that just wasn't my thing. But I realized there were some other things I was good at.
Yeah. So you took a change in career. So you went and you decided to pursue your bachelor's degree. And how did that happen? Where'd you go?
I first went to Concordia, which was weird. I don't know if this
That's a
people
private
from
school. It's not here anymore. It was down the street from my house.
Yeah, and I didn't realize like because Portland's super liberal and stuff. I just was like going in there. I thought it would be like in Northeast Portland. I thought it was gonna be like black people and all this stuff. It was like a culture shock. I couldn't. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't really like it. But it was cool. I mean, but there in the nursing program, there was probably 2 of us that were black. That was like 500 people. It was crazy.
Oh my God.
Maybe I might be exaggerating 500. Maybe it was like 300. I don't know. But it was a whole bunch of people. And I felt so out of place. I just didn't want to do it. So I don't know. Maybe I could have been a good nurse. I just didn't fit in. So, but and then I went to PSU and I graduated. And it was hard. Like I'm not one of them people, people's like, oh yeah, I got this magna cum laude and all this stuff. Like I'm not that. Like I struggle. School's not easy for me. It's hard.
It's very mentally violent. It's a mentally violent process for people like us.
Yeah. And so, so I struggle. I every single grade that I get is a challenge, and I work hard for it, and it's hard for me. It's not an easy thing, but I've been able to get a bachelor's degree. I'm working on my master's degree.
How did that come about? Because I know sometimes it's scary. Like me, I'm pursuing the law degree, and I'm also applying to public policy, and it's scary, because you're like, I'm older now, and I'm like, I always think like I'm good, like I'm doing this kind of late, and what are the people that are looking at the application gonna say when they see what I've been doing? Was that ever a problem for you? Did you ever think like, was there any barriers or disbelief or doubt?
I mean, first of all, I'm a lot older than you, and so I encourage you to keep at it. You're young. Yeah. You have so much time left. Like, oh my gosh, you are young. Just, this is the time for you to do it. And I mean, of course that doubt, because I would be like, oh, in 4 years, I'm going to be 50. Like, how do I, like, does this make sense financially also? Like, is this like something for my future? And there were some other people in recovery that were getting their master's degree, and they were like posting it on social media, and I reached out to them, and I heard, and I just asked, and she was like, Maya, you can do it. And there's another person who is a Black therapist, and she was just like, Maya, you can do this. Like, this is, so I just needed some people to encourage me, right? And that's the beautiful thing about recovery is like, I've had people that encourage me. And I always think I can't. I always think I'm not enough. Right. I always doubt myself. Yeah. Like that's my natural, comfortable phase is doubt. And I've always had people cheer me on to just keep going. And that's why I'm in the master's program.
Wow. Okay, so what is your relationship now with your kids? Because I know you're a grandmother too. And what has that been like? The last time I heard you speak, because you're like one of our prominent speakers in the community, and you're very, very humble. I'm not, but but you're a really great speaker because your vulnerability and your honesty, like you'll go there to save someone else. You know what I mean? Just like, I'm going to share my story. I'm going to be vulnerable and honest so that no one discounts themselves and think that this doesn't apply to them. That's what I get from it. And then you talked about your family, people in your family having a hard time, because it's a family disease, and how in our fellowship, we embrace each other. Like the newcomer, I remember someone saying, like, I remember being like, why do we embrace the newcomer so much? I'm a newcomer, but I'm like, why do we embrace those new people so much? And they were like, imagine being in war and you're seeing other people die and they're losing limbs and they're getting killed or raped and all these things. And you watch your partners die, everybody dies. And then you make it back over to home, US, and you see someone that you were on battlefield with in the store. Wouldn't you embrace, like that makes me want to wouldn't you embrace them like you made it too, And ever since they said that, it changed the way I looked at the newcomer. Like, yeah, we are people that beat all odds, And so you're always like about the newcomer and you're very loving, but you said sometimes it's hard to have that kind of compassion and tolerance. And I hope it's okay that I'm talking about this, that kind of compassion and tolerance for our own families, you know, like what happens there? Like, how are you handling that? And like, why, like, how did that come about?
You know, and first of all, I think I'm like, sometimes I think I'm the only one, and I'm not going to go into too many details
Oh
about
no,
it.
I tear my family up.
Yeah.
It's disgusting the way I treat some of my family members. It's not cute.
Yeah. I mean, like, what I know is like, it's like somebody can walk into the room or somebody can need help, and I'm just there, right? It's just like, I'm so programmed to be there for them. And then when it comes with my kids, because I thought, okay, I'm not a dope fiend anymore. Like, their life's going to be different. Like, I done did all this work, and I've changed the cycle of abuse or addiction or all this stuff. Like, I'm the big change in this world, that their lives are going to be different because of me. You know, I'm really grandiose and ego. And the truth is that no, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, they still have their journey and their path. And that's been one of the hardest things to accept in recovery, is watching my kids make mistakes and
not try to fix them.
And not
or
try
feel
to fix.
You really
no,
can't.
I try to
you
fix
try
them.
to fix it? Okay. Or realizing and accepting that you can't.
Yeah, but
we
I don't
really
have
are
that.
Powerless. Right?
Yeah, I don't have that same like grace and tolerance and love. I mean, like the love is there, but the grace and tolerance that I have for other newcomers or community members, that I don't have that same one for my kids. Like, my expectations are here. Right. You need to stop.
Because you're connected to the results.
Yeah. So. Like, why would you even do this shit, right? And I realized the contradiction that I have, like, you know, the hypocrisy that I have around my children, you know? It's like, why can't they make mistakes? Why can't I love them exactly where they are? Why can't I love them until they love themselves? Why can't I, you know, just keep going one day at a time with them, you know? And so those are the things that I try to work on, is like my expectations around them. And it's all based in fear, right? It's like, I don't ever want my children. I never want my children, and they're not children anymore. Well, one of them is. But I never want my children to have to feel the things that I felt. I never want my children to have to do the things that I do. So all of that is really based in fear of like trying to control outcomes for them. And the one thing that I've been clear, that I've like, the lessons I've learned over and over again is like, I'm not in control of them. But what I am in control of is being a safe person for them, right? Like, if they, and that's where the work and that's where my work comes in, right? As I gotta be that safe person. I want to, like, if they're going through something, can they tell me?
That safe person. I was gonna say, what changed? Because I know, like, in the beginning, I was like that. Like, I would have my literature, and I would hold my brother hostage, and I would read it to him.
Yeah.
And he'd be like drunk, high, and I'd be like, listen. I'd be like, see, you don't care about your life. You're not serious. I'm in treatment. And I'm like, you know, he's there for visiting time, you know, and I'm holding him hostage, and I'm reading, and I'm belittling him, and I'm being condescending, because in my mind, like, now I'm on this spiritual mountaintop, you know, and I'm looking down at him, and I've got my foot on his neck. Like, you got, you know, but in reality, a part of it is I definitely want him to stay clean. And a little part of it is like, there was something I hated about him being in that place, because there was something I hated about me being in that place. And that kind of holds on. But I remember he kept going out, and also my partner that I was like obsessed with, he kept going out, and I couldn't stop them from doing drugs and everything. And I remember someone in the meeting saying, like, why don't you turn them over? Like, they have a God, don't you? Like, you know, like, you had a God, and do you really think that your God wouldn't go and get them the same way they got you? You know, but it wasn't until you're ready, because didn't your mom pray for you? Didn't your grandma pray? I had little old lady grandma calling the police stations, the hospitals. Have you seen Mercedes? My grandma's 94, you know, and it's just like, but I wasn't coming home, and I didn't want to be found, you know, until I was ready, until, you know, I was like, okay, God, you know, but we have to let them hit that rock bottom and be, like you said, that safe place and that loving place, not like preach recovery, but have that loving, calm, spiritual happiness, happy, joyous, and free, content, and you can have it too, kind of spirit. So then they say, like, what do you do? Where do you get that from? You know what I mean? And do you feel you're doing that now? I think you're definitely doing that.
You know, there's days it's a balance thing. Like, some days I'm good and some days I'm not. And the other thing that I also realize is that a lot of us in this like service in this industry, like in this work, social service work, like, a lot of our families are struggling, and sometimes that's the passion that brings us to do this, to do what we do. But the thing that's pretty consistent is that I also may not be the help, right? And that's hard, you know. I mean,
because we don't get to say where the help comes from or what it looks like.
And so, so I just, you know, I just pray for them. I try to do the best I can. I try to, like, if I make a mistake, like, if I'm just like, what are you doing? You know, I could just be like, I try to, like, come back and make it right. Like I just try again. Before I would just be like, I'd do something and then I would just realize that I was wrong in that moment, but I would still continue on, right? I wouldn't go back and make an amends for that behavior. And so right now it's like I learn how to make an amends in the moment and go back and say, okay, that was not okay what I said to you. You know, I didn't mean what I said to you. Like, not only was it not okay, it's not the truth, right? There's so many beautiful things. You're not being lazy, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, I try to go back and amend the behavior, but it's one of the hardest things that's my biggest struggle is with my kids. And it's all based in, you know, like I said before, it's all based in fear. So,
right. So like the title of the show is Second Chance, because I feel I was given a second chance.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, I was given a million chances, but this, I call it my second chance because this is the one I took. Me and God had a heart to heart, like, all right, you might can work with me, please do, kind of thing. So like, what do you feel in recovery has been your second chance, or even at life? Like, do you feel you've had those second chance experiences?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've been given like grace and mercy and second chances and over and over again. You know, it's like the story that I see of the people around me that I like grew up with and that I've admired. It's like a lot of them are dead. A lot of them are in prison. A lot of, you know, sometimes I'll go and I'll see them on the street. It's you know, and so there's not a lot of people that I know that are in recovery, that I used with or that I ran with, although they're starting to get to be more. And so like the second chances that I've had is like, first of all, I got my brain ain't always right. I'm, you know, it's, it's challenged at times, but I can, you know, I have my mental clarity at times. You know, there's a lot of people who will never get that back from using.
Yeah.
I have, you know, my dreams and goals were living in the villa and having a, you know, gangsta and all this stuff. And you know, I did live in the villa when I got clean. That was great. I got to live up that goal. But I also, like, you know, I got off assistance. I bought a house. You know,
You're a homeowner.
I'm a homeowner, right?
And then you have a new baby.
Yeah, he's 6, though.
You got a 6-year-old, but you also have a grandson that's 6.
I do have a grandson,
right?
Yeah.
That's my baby, James.
Yeah, and that's another second chance, you know? I mean, that's another chance. It's like, you know, my daughter had to deal with some of the consequences of some decisions that she made, and through that, I got to, me and my partner at the time decided to go through IVF and get pregnant. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have a little recovery, baby. And in that, you know, my daughter also found out that she was pregnant and that she was not going to be in a place to be able to take care of the baby, that I was going to have to take him. And because I got clean,
you were able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone did it for you.
You know, I got to be, and it had nothing to do with like trying to make an amends to my daughter. Like it's not about that. It was like making an amends to myself. Like every day that I showed up, when they gave me that baby, like, I mean, I never thought, I just never thought I could love something like I could love my kids. And when they,
cute.
Oh my God. And he's just bad as hell. He's just like, oh my God, I love that kid. And I'm just grateful that I was able to be clean, because if I was like living the life, there's no way they wouldn't have gave me that kid. I couldn't even take care of my own kids.
Imagine the things he would have seen out there, you know, and he's so well taken care of. I love that.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I know you're busy. You got to get back to those boys. I look up to you so much, Maya.
I look up to you too. Yeah, look at you. Like, look at all the things that you're doing in recovery. It's like, it's beautiful. It's exciting. It's refreshing. I love seeing your excitement and love for recovery.
I do. That's what I love, that God has allowed me this excitement, enthusiasm for this, because I really do love it. Like, I want to take it out of me and give it to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, if there is anything that if there's any advice you have for like your past self, or anybody in the process right now that is maybe thinking about giving up, or they don't know if this is for them, or maybe, you know, they get high, but this may be all some misunderstanding or something, you know.
You know, I mean, there's one thing, I mean, like, the one thing is like, you know, if you're clean or you haven't used and you really like are just trying to get this, like, the one, and they're cliches, you know, these things are cliche, whatever, is like, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle. And I say that to myself all the time, like, just don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle.
Oh,
And it's like growth and change. Somebody was sharing about this yesterday. It's like change is hard. It's painful at times. You know, you got to grieve through change and all of this stuff. And it's like, but you just don't quit. Like that's part of the change. It's like you just keep going. And on the other side is like there's beauty and there's strength and there's all these things awaiting for you, but you got to go through the process. And so I just encourage people to just keep going. Don't use no matter what, you know. I was supporting somebody that's in treatment right now that was dead for like 15 minutes and they were able to bring him back. And it's just like, this stuff is deadly out here. And if you go to a meeting and you don't feel like you belong, go to another one, go to another one, go to another one. And now we have this, you know, online format and it's like, there's so many different places and stories, like find it, keep searching until you find yours. It's out there, and just don't use. And if you're out there using and you want this way of life, like, just like, go to detox, just try, just like, you know, reach out for help, call a number. That's what I did. I called a number and the person just said, come now. I had no idea that's what was going to happen. They just said, like, come now. And I said, okay.
Right. And here you are, 16 years later,
yeah.
with getting her master's, homeowner.
Yeah. All that stuff. But like, none of that shit really matters. The only thing that matters is like, I'm a good person today. Even if I struggle with my kids, I'm a good mom today. My mom, I have the keys to my mom's house today.
The one you couldn't come back to at first.
You know, all of those things. I'm a good neighbor. I'm trusting. I'm a good friend. And those are the things that really matter, because those are all the things that were stripped away. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you. And to our listeners, we love you guys. Please don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. And always remember, in life, sometimes we are given second chances. You just have to take those and make the most of them. So thank you. If folks want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
Maya Noble. I'm on Facebook or
Maya
something.
Noble. Okay.
Maya Noble.
And it's, how do you spell it?
The right way, M-A-Y-A.
M-A-Y-A. Okay. Well, we'll put it in the links and stuff. All right. Well, thank you. Yes. So good talking to you.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and visit our website at mercedessecondchance.com.